After thoroughly beating Yuji down, both mentally and physically, Mahito asks the student how he ever planned on winning and if he's ever counted how many curses he's exercised. Mahito has never cared about how many people he's killed, and he believes he'll forget about Yuji eventually. He morphs his arm into a praying mantis-like claw and attempts to kill Yuji. However, there is a clapping noise, and suddenly, Mahito is displaced. You guys know what freaking time it is right now. Our boy, our brother, Todo, the eternal brother, appears just in time, having used Boogie Woogie to switch places with Mahito. He says that the prosperous have no choice but to eventually decline. Nita also joins the scene after treating Nobara. Todo mostly tells him to help his brother Yuji next before telling his nearly defeated friend that he must wake up. Helpless and trembling on the ground in front of them, Yuji explains that he cannot fight anymore. Not only did Nobara perish in front of his eyes, but Nanami was killed by Mahito as well. To add to Yuji's suffering, Sukuna slaughtered potentially dozens of people, and Yuji felt he needed to help others to compensate. However, he feels he failed completely. Crying and withering on the ground, Yuji expresses that he simply can't forgive himself. Enticed by Yuji's suffering, Mahito jumps at the group of sorcerers with his arm shaped into a thorn-like weapon. Todo claps his hand and activates Boogie Woogie to switch Mahito's position in the air with Arata behind him. Mahito attempts to turn around and attack Todo, but the student suddenly switches the curse's position with Yuji. Taken off guard, Mahito is left wide open to a powerful kick that sends him reeling towards Arata. Todo quickly swaps Arata and Mahito again and takes position in front of his juniors to face off against the special grade alone. Now what an absolute G, man. Mahito laughs and admits to himself that Todo is extremely disorientating. At the same time, Todo tells Yuji that he believes as long as they keep on living, those who have passed on will never truly have been defeated. He adds that looking for logic in meaning and death can defile the memories of the dead, but Todo still asks Yuji for what he's been entrusted with. Todo tells Yuji that he doesn't need to answer him right now. However, until he does, the first year can never stop fighting. He expresses this to Yuji and runs ahead to fight Mahito alone. Arata quickly treats Yuji's injuries by applying his curse technique. He informs Yuji that his injuries won't get any worse from here on out unless he sustains new ones. Arata has already done the same for Nobara. He admits that she didn't have a pulse and isn't breathing, but encourages Yuji by adding that there is a chance of survival. Arata then takes Nobara and retreats out of the station. Mahito attacks Todo and tries to split himself into a few different ways to outmaneuver his opponent. However, Todo proves to be too efficient at avoiding Mahito. A small transfigured human behind Todo transforms into a large spike, but the third year avoids the attack. Mahito is disappointed his opponent didn't even clap. Even so, he's confident after tapping into the power of Black Flash. He believes it's drawing him ever closer to the true essence of his soul. Todo suddenly claps and interrupts Mahito's train of thought. Yuji appears before the cursed spirit, back in the fight. He charges his fist with cursed energy and reminds himself of Nanami's last words. Focused and recommitted on the battle, Yuji unleashes Black Flash on Mahito, destroying the curse's arm. Mahito is knocked back but quickly heals his wound. Amused, the curse smiles and says that Yuji is back from the dead. Todo welcomes him back into the battle as well, and Yuji stands ready to fight beside him. With his fighting spirit reignited, Yuji fights effectively alongside Todo to keep Mahito on the defensive. Mahito knows Todo's soul is at full strength, and one transfiguration might not be enough to kill him. Yuji's soul is much less stable, but Mahito isn't exactly in great shape either. He feels at less than half of his full strength after having his double destroyed and being hit with a Black Flash. Mahito plans to deal with Todo's switching first and tries to use a transfigured human to distract Yuji. However, Mahito is surprised when Todo uses Boogie Woogie to swap places with the transfigured human. This allows him to get behind Mahito and force the curse to destroy his own weapon at the same time. Todo thinks about feeling like he's being left behind now that Mahito can use Black Flash as well. Yuji refused to get left behind and use the technique during the Goodwill event. Todo refuses to let Yuji feel alone, and finally, like the big brother he is, unleashes his own Black Flash, pummeling Mahito with a perfect kick. Mahito's arm is broken by Todo's Black Flash, but he still doesn't believe Todo will be able to hurt him. Even so, the special grade recognizes that all three fighters have reached 120% of their potential. Mahito then voluntarily vomits up several miniature, transfigured humans and combines them using soul multiplicity. Mahito immediately activates Body Repel, creating multiple transfigured snake-like heads that attempt to chomp at his enemies. As the attack breaks through the underground of Shibuya, Yuji and Todo are forced to move and evade all of the attacks in the air. The latter recognizes that Mahito is countering Boogie Woogie by attacking from all directions. Mahito empathetically tells Yuji that it's their last chance to curse one another. Asking if the curse has forgotten about him, Todo swaps all three of their positions so he's holding Mahito, then slams him head first into the ground. Yuji attempts to smash Mahito's head with a kick, but the curse dismembers himself to avoid the blow. The special grade's body grows 2 eyes and transforms its arm into a blade before rapidly attacking. At the same time, Mahito's head grows a separate body and stands behind his other half to activate soul multiplicity. This time, Mahito combines 2 souls with weak rejection to form one powerful transfigured human using polymorphic soul Isimur. Todo uses Boogie Woogie to continuously give his side the best spot against the enemy, while believing Mahito's body contains the most of the power, but the head itself is the real him because it used idle transfiguration. Before taking out Mahito's real self, Todo attempts to take out the polymorphic soul Isimur. However, much to his surprise, Todo is suddenly smacked aside with a powerful blow. The impact sends him crashing through an entire floor and out the other side into the road, but he still manages to recover his balance. The soul confronts the sorcerer, and Todo counterattacks by infusing a rock with cursed energy and swapping places with it behind his opponent. Much to Todo's surprise, one hit was enough to kill the soul Isimur. He surmises that its explosive power was the result of Mahito expanding numerous souls at once to manifest it. There are 2 more now confronting him, and Todo asks for their forgiveness before taking each of them out. While Mahito was free of Boogie Woogie, he decided to pile on the attacks against Yuji. He uses a more ferocious version of Body Repel to attack, but the sorcerer avoids the attack and drop kicks Mahito through the air. The curse counters by grabbing Yuji's leg and slamming him onto the ground. When the dust settles from the crash, Mahito attempts to follow up the attack. However, he's irritated to find the top note goat standing back at his brother's side. Mahito is surprised not even 2 polymorphic Isimurs were enough to stall or defeat Todo. He can't transfigure Todo without being able to touch him, and Sukuna retaliates if Mahito attempts a domain expansion. It's too complex for Mahito to exclude Yuji from a domain's barrier, so he decides to take inspiration from the big man himself. The duo are both shocked when Mahito suddenly activates his domain expansion. Just like Gojo, Mahito activates his all or nothing domain expansion for 0.2 seconds, taking both of his opponents completely off guard. Todo acts quickly and activates a simple domain, which he learned from Yuki. Even faster though is Yuji, who's already running towards Mahito in an attempt to exercise him before idle transfiguration can activate. However, despite their speed, Mahito was the fastest. The 2-step process of realizing one's innate domain and the activation of their curse technique are combined into one by Mahito, who had awakened through Black Flash. As a result of activating his domain expansion, Mahito enters Sukuna's innate domain for a moment. He asks Sukuna if this is a safe place and inquires about his agreement with Yuji. The King of Curses remains silent, but Mahito continues questioning in order to challenge Sukuna. He arrogantly claims Yuji will be dead before Sukuna can even switch places with him, and tells the King of Curses to just shut up and watch. The balls on this guy, man. As the self-embodiment of perfection ends, Todo's left hand begins to transfigure. Yuji turns around to check on his brother, but Mahito knocks him to the ground while his back is turned. Todo quickly severs his own hand, but this leaves him vulnerable to the approaching special grade. After activating domain expansion, the user's innate technique becomes difficult to control. Mahito became aware of that fact after escaping against Nanami. He instead attacks Todo with a strong punch enhanced by Black Flash that sends Todo into relentless pain. Big Brain Todo though instinctively concentrated all of his cursed energy to defend the blow and minimize all of the damage. Mahito then becomes able to activate idle transfiguration again and plans to kill Todo with the next hit. Mahito's focus though is suddenly interrupted when Todo's necklace falls onto the ground and knocks open a small picture frame containing the photos of Yuji and Takada. While his opponent is distracted, Yuji uses Mahito's hand to clap and activate Boogie Woogie. Todo instantly switches places with Yuji, who strikes Mahito in the face with another Black Flash. Todo collapses and looks at his remaining hand while expressing that he's lucky to be alive. Ready to finish the fight alone now, Yuji looks back at Todo and thanks him for all of his help. Final battle Shibuya finally begins. Or is it the final battle? I guess we'll find out. I guess we'll find out next. Heavily injured, Mahito creates a polymorphic isomer to hold Yuji off. He admits Todo was a problem for him till the very end, but despite his depleting condition, Mahito believes he's found the true essence of his soul. Yuji defeats the polymorphic isomer, and as this happens, Mahito evolves into the final stage of his being, emerging from a cocoon of probably cursed stuff, who knows what it is. He then instantly activates idle transfiguration on himself, making himself into an instant spirit body of distorted killing. This form is just like super clean, man. Like it's probably one of Gige's out of this world type shit, not just a normal like anime character face. I love it. Like made up. That's probably why I like it. In the midst of the city's ruins, Yuji glares at his greatest enemy and wonders what his newest transfiguration brings. The cursed spirit feels reborn and asks Yuji to wish him a happy birthday to celebrate the monumental occasion. Having unleashed Black Flash, Mahito believes he has tapped into his true, unbridled soul. Yuji didn't take his adversary to be one for a self-discovery journey. Amused, Mahito replies that only after killing Yuji does the cursed spirit feel that he can truly be reborn. The two fighters instantly blitz one another to reignite the battle. Mahito makes the first move, creating a shockwave with just a wave of his arm. Yuji ducks under the wave and attacks with a straight kick that's caught by the black hairs protruding from Mahito's head. The curse tries to take the advantage with a tail whip, but Yuji blocks it. He is then able to parry Mahito's punch and counter with an uppercut to his body. However, Yuji's cursed energy infused punch deals absolutely no damage at all. Mahito knocks Yuji away and forces him to realize that the cursed spirit transcended way beyond his former state. They trade blows, but Yuji's attacks are unable to reach his opponent any longer. Yuji is overwhelmed and slammed into the street, creating a giant crater from the impact. The street crumbles apart and Yuji falls down to the bottom. As water fills the bottom of the crater, where Yuji now stands across from Mahito, the former realizes he can only win using a Black Flash infused punch with maximum cursed energy. Mahito attempts to take advantage of Yuji's small lapse by rushing in. However, the cursed spirit immediately stops. The tendrils on the back of his elbows partially disintegrate and Mahito even coughs up blood. Getting hit by Black Flash so soon after deactivating domain expansion seriously injured Mahito. Amused with their final standoff, Mahito wipes the blood from his mouth and states both of them have plenty left in the tank. Mahito rushes his opponent, creating a giant splash in the water from his incredibly fast movements. Yuji immediately clenches his fist in his palm and charges all of his cursed energy into it. Mahito attempts to attack Yuji from behind, but the sorcerer ducks under in time. The cursed spirit then tries to come at him with a right hook, but Yuji uses the back of his palm to parry it. Having been hit a bunch now, Mahito knows that he's vulnerable to being hit by another one of Yuji's Black Flash attacks, meaning going in recklessly will only lead to his end. Believing he has a countermeasure in mind, Mahito partially deactivates his distorted killing form on the left side of his body. The special grade believes Yuji will aim at his sweet spot, and that will lead to the chance to counter and decapitate him. Yuji indeed does strike at Mahito's left side, appearing to take the bait. But just as Mahito goes for the kill, a second impact throws the trajectory of his strike off. Yuji ducks under Mahito's missed attack and prepares to deliver the final blow. The cursed spirit reinforces the left side with his instant spirit body of distorted killing and tries to hit his opponent first. Suddenly though, our GOAT, the broski, the bro, the brother, Todo's voice echoes through the battlefield, interrupting Mahito's momentum. Todo tells the cursed spirit that an arm is simply a decoration, and an act of applause is an acclamation of one's soul. Damn, this man is a poet, man. Bestro Friendo uses his freaking amputated hand to imitate clapping with his remaining hand. Trying to anticipate the switch, Mahito quickly turns around and attacks. He ends up hitting nothing though and realizes that he's been utterly fooled by Todo one last time. Todo apologizes and claims that Boogie Woogie is already dead. Yuji takes advantage of his allies' clever thinking and strikes Mahito with a Black Flash imbued with maximum cursed energy. The impact from Yuji's blow is so fierce it coats his opponent in a streak of cursed energy that blasts the cursed spirit completely out of the crater. Mahito is heavily injured and forced out of his distorted killing form. Additionally, this special grade is out of transfigured humans. As desperation sets in for Mahito for the first time in his existence, Yuji stands over him. Just as the curse proclaimed earlier in the fight, Yuji admits that he is Mahito. He no longer requires a reason to kill him and will exercise curses no matter what form they take. Fully aware now that he's nothing but a cog in the struggle between two sides, Yuji is confident to play his role as a Jujutsu sorcerer against the threat of cursed spirits. Mahito desperately tries to flee as Yuji chases from behind like a wolf chasing the rabbit through the snow. Like, oh, dude, like when this was going down for the first time, I was freaking screaming and chanting like, oh my god, man. I can't actually, like, the pages were on fire, like full on, they were, like, seriously. Oh my god. Before Yuji can finish Mahito off, someone appears. Geto suddenly appears before Mahito, standing over him and looking down on his fellow special grade.